Beyonce crazy in love on your mobile. Text 1 for the monos and 2 for the polys. Check 1, check 1.
Check 1, 2. Hang on. Is that loud enough?
Check 1.
What about me?
Yeah, you just want to probably face it towards you, I'd say.
Okay. No, I thought that's the sweet spot there.
Is it really?
Yeah, where the bum is.
Oh, where the bum is.
Talking to the bum.
In that case, let's lean it the other way. I just was assuming that it was
yeah.
set up towards us. Okay.
Alright.
Aim for the bum.
Aim for the bum. So this is
check 1.
Consultant. Check 1, 2. I have Nathan Leigh Jones here.
Yeah, right.
Do you still go by your middle name? Is it still Nathan Leigh Jones?
Are we still in sound check? Only because I just wanted to ask. I can hear me really well. Can't hear you as well.
Oh, really? I'll turn the gain up a little bit. What about that? Is that better?
My gain's about halfway. How's your gain?
I'm about 3/4 of the way there, but I don't mind that because it makes me more.
I think it's probably because you're just away from the microphone. I was doing voiceovers. Okay. That's what it was.
Okay, so what about now then?
It's great.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so the attitude consultant right here. I've got my good old mate Nathan Leigh Jones. How are you?
Rowan, I'm great, mate.
It's been a long time.
It has been quite a while.
I reckon last time I saw you, I slept on your couch or on your floor in Sydney.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I certainly do. It was a horrible building.
It was a great building.
It was great. It was the Blues Point Tower, and everyone hated it, but we loved it because we were, on top of the world.
Why would you hate the Blues Point Tower? It was overlooking the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Seriously, there was everything good about it. And the thing is...
floor.
Yeah, I was on floor 20.
I felt like this entrepreneur boss just standing there.
Oh, and you are. But the thing is, though, well, you absolutely still live in the dream.
I'm smashing it.
You are smashing it. The thing with that building is that I always used to think that it was actually the best view in Sydney because every other person that owned an expensive apartment had to see our ugly apartment. But we're in the ugly apartment. We didn't have to see it. We could just see the expensive buildings and the harbour. What's the opposite of a jewel in a crown?
Okay, eyesore. Is that the term?
Yeah, that's probably the term.
Okay. Alright. Well, what about here? They've done, some fucker's done an engineer report on it, and then I'm getting hit up for balconies that I don't own.
Yeah. Well, mate, this is my first time at your place.
Yeah.
I love it.
You do?
I think it's cozy. Right. I think it's a very smart investment choice.
Okay.
Buying in the city. But yeah, I only am a first homeowner this year, and I'm just getting to know that whole strata thing, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
Why are we paying for other people's shit? It's what stratas do. Okay, Ron, I know you're a creative man and you quite like a new idea. I think that we should pitch a show called Strata. And it's about these people, these power-hungry people in power that are just playing with their tenants.
Well, you're going to love this because you're musical, aren't you?
I am musical.
Well, a good mate of mine, Steve Sheen, who I had on the show a couple of weeks ago, he's a co-investor. He owns level 3 of the same building complex.
Yeah.
I said, do you mind if I record these Strata meetings? And he's like, hell yeah, I want to turn it into a fucking musical.
Oh! Strata the musical.
Strata the musical. Let's take these minutes and make songs out of them.
Oh!
Would you be up for that?
It actually sounds incredible.
Okay.
And we won't call them songs, we'll call them minutes. So, in the program, minute 7 is the 7th song.
Absolutely. And we won't even pitch it as a musical. It would be funny just to do a Strata show, but it just breaks into song and dance in the boardroom all the time. Would it be a live show, or would it be filmed?
Well, we could start live, and then when it gets picked up, when all the movie studios are fighting for the rights,
we've got a team of 3 people now. We've got 2 writers, and
it's pretty much happening. Okay, now Rowan, we have to come clean about this because this is like deja vu for me because we've worked on it. We've worked on a musical before. Let's not pretend it never happened. And it came from a similar discussion. Like, what? You're like, yeah.
So for those listening at home, Nathan here did the music for Centrelink the Musical. Nathan pretty much was Centrelink the Musical. Without music, there's not a fucking musical.
It'd just be Centrelink.
It would just be Centrelink.
It doesn't have the same ring.
Yeah, you put the musical in Centrelink the Musical.
Mate, that means so much.
No, I mean...
No, you really did.
You were the voice of Jackster too, weren't you? I remember so many times I was trying to make love to my girlfriend and your fucking voice comes on the radio.
Yeah.
Right, I'm on the vinegar stroke. I'm like, for fuck's sake, that's my mate.
Well, you know what? Sharing is caring, bro. I'm glad you invited me along. Yeah. And I'm glad I sold you a ringtone in that special moment. I was thinking about it the other day because I used to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was my first voiceover gig.
Yeah.
Got to get in the biz somehow. And the scripts I used to say, like it was back in the day when they used to differentiate between monophonic ringtones and polyphonic. And polyphonic was premium because it could play 2 tones at once. And so I was this hype guy going, get Beyonce crazy in love on your mobile. Text 1 for the monos and 2 for the polys. And everyone's just like, hey, I'm texting 2 for the polys. I'm gonna knock you 3210. Play 2 tones at once. Terrible. And that's the last time we saw each other.
What phones would you get the polys on?
Mate, the polys, I mean, they were definitely, because, you know, I think probably if I remember correctly, the 3210 was an earlier model. That would have been just a mono phone. But the polys could do.
What was your favourite? My favourite mobile was the first Nokia that had the vibrate function. Because you were always...
Don't say that when I'm taking a sip of coffee. Why was that your favourite, Ron?
Because you could compose your own ringtones. Do you remember that?
God,
When you had
yeah, I
little
can.
MIDI things and
But
you could...
yeah, but that wasn't easy though. You had to type literally like G.
But that's fun.
It was fun.
Yeah,
Kids these days,
Yeah.
they don't think like that.
No, it's just bloody swipe left, swipe right.
That's exactly what it is. Ugh. Who have we become? 2 old men drinking coffee and talking about the youths.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, I actually am the old man that says back in the days now. Like, I've become that person.
Yeah.
In the 90s, if you had email, you're a...
But email's kind of cool again now, have you noticed?
Is it?
Yeah. From the marketing world, people are scared with like Facebook at the moment because they keep changing the rules. And so all these people that built these empires on Facebook or that were able to invest in these third-party platforms, they're not really able to you look a little bit concerned with our recording process.
Stop you right there, mate. We're using new technology and it's flatlined on me.
Oh, it did flatline, but I don't think it's that bad because if we go closer...
Okay,
it's coming right up.
Maybe that's what we're doing. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. See, I mean, I could hear you and it's going to be fine. I think...
Yeah.
I'd love it if you kept this part in, I think. So use Logic usually.
I do keep all of this sort of stuff in. It's behind the scenes.
It is. It's exclusive.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So look, I mean, I was actually talking about something incredibly boring before about email and Facebook and marketing. So I'm glad you took us on a different. No, it really wasn't relevant at all. What do you want to talk about?
We're just here to dribble shit.
Well, I quite
what
like
I generally do is I get people on here to talk about what success means because it's one thing I want to find out what it means to be successful.
Yeah.
Everyone's talked about what success means. What about failure? What do you think failure means?
Am I allowed to answer success first?
Yeah.
Because I want to be part of the cool club.
Yeah. What's the keys to success? What's
the keys? See, I really honestly think success is doing stuff that you love. I really do think that because I've been in different roles and jobs before, and when you're not enjoying what you're doing, your vocation, life sucks. It doesn't bring me a lot of joy, and so I think anytime you're able to cultivate a life that's sustainable, you know, whether or not you get paid what, you know, you've always hoped and dreamed of, or whether it's enough just to keep you living and creating and doing what it is that you like doing, I think when you're doing what you love, I think that's success. Really. Plenty of rich people that are CEOs of big corporations that aren't necessarily happy. And I think if that's the case, I don't think you're really that successful. You haven't really found what it is that you want to be doing.
Like you said, sustainable. What do you mean by that?
Look, I don't mean necessarily in an environmental sense.
No.
I don't mean eco-friendly. But I think if you're truly enjoying what you're creating and you're feeling like you're bringing something awesome to the world that's contributing and is, I don't know, demonstrating what it is about you that you feel your existence is worthwhile for, money's good because it can keep you doing that thing. And that's why it's great to get paid for a podcast, or it's great to get paid for a show or whatever, because it means you can keep doing that thing. So when something's sustainable and you're able to make that your focus and you're able to keep it going, that's what I think is successful.
Well, I got the bank off my back last week officially.
Well, hey, that's a success in itself.
Yeah.
But how often do we let third parties determine our success? We apply for a credit card, so you're not successful enough to have this card. You're not successful enough to mingle in this crowd or to be in this. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and as soon
put so much hope in
Exactly.
And all these fucking TV shows where they've got judges and people are crying or overexcited because the judge said that they like their cupcake, and that's the well to them.
Yeah.
Based on that, that's a bad attitude to have.
It could be a bad attitude. I think, look, and you being an attitude consultant, you more than anyone would know. Bad attitudes.
Bad attitude.
Ain't nobody got time for bad attitudes. But yeah, I would say that a bad attitude is letting other people decide for you your inherent worth. That's a pretty bad attitude.
How do you put more value on yourself?
Oh, Rowan. Okay, we're drinking coffee. I think we need a wine for this topic. Self-worth, right? That's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
So I reached a point in my life, I've been told, and we came from a similar youth where we were involved with the church.
Yes.
In fact, should we tell people what we were doing in the year 2000?
Yeah, please.
So in the year 2000, Rowan and I got on a bus with a whole lot of other people, and we were actually called by God.
Yes.
We were called by God to spread the good news in Sydney. Flights were pretty expensive back then. I think it was more affordable to take a bus to Sydney. None of these cheaper kind of flights. And so, yeah, this whole bus of us went from Adelaide to Sydney. And we noticed something was wrong when we got there, and we had to wait in the bus even longer after this long journey with a stopover in Canberra. But yeah, we got to the church and we realized that something was wrong. The director came out and said, "Oh, so we've got a slight problem." They weren't expecting us. We're just like, okay. But, you know, we knew God had called us there, so that was clear. Sure. And this church just tried to make jobs for us, and their whole idea was to have a cafe in their church that played the broadcast, the simulcast of the Olympics on their church green, hoping that they'd get people into the church cafe so they could bring them into the church. But the big flaw in this marketing theory from this church in North Ryde, Sydney, was that if people are going to come to Sydney, they probably want to go to the Olympics and maybe even watch it on the big screen there in Olympic Park. And so it was this empty thing every night, and we were stuck in Sydney throughout the Olympics, sharing Jesus with nobody. Now, this seems like a bit of a sidetrack from the question you asked, which was about how do you find that sense of self-worth? And I know faith is so important to all sorts of people, and it can be used in different ways.
Stop you right there.
Yeah.
What is faith, and what does faith mean to you?
Whoa, okay. All right, I'll answer that, and then we're going to we have to talk about the self-worth, Ron, because it's a really good question.
All right.
So faith to me, I'm not necessarily religious. I mean, I'd probably say I'm still spiritual in a way, and I think spirituality, I think, is connecting to stuff that's more than what we can just like tangibly touch and see, and more than the coffee mug. I think that when we can start talking about psychology and our thoughts and our motives, I think that gets quite spiritual. To assess that and to be present to that, I think, is a spiritual act. And so I guess with the self-worth for so long, when you let other people, outside entities, like the church sometimes, and particular rules and whatever, when you let that determine your own sense of self-worth, it can be pretty problematic. And I lost myself to that for the longest time.
Did you honestly feel that God was calling you to go to that mission?
Yeah, I guess so.
Was it the third party that told you that?
I think when you're younger and you're still still haven't figured things out, it's kind of one of the same. Like if the minister tells you it's God.
And you wanted to get your dick wet. Was that part of it?
Maybe, but I think, like, I've always been someone, I think you have too, Ron, to a certain extent. You're someone that likes to feel like you're bringing something of worth to the world.
Yeah.
And to a younger kid, like to a younger me, that's crack. I mean, like, who doesn't want to feel valuable and worthwhile?
It's one of the basic human needs.
It is. Mate, getting old Maslow on us.
Top 5.
It is. It actually is.
Well, someone on LinkedIn's put that as a list, have they? Well, probably Anthony Robbins has, I reckon. It's one of Anthony Robbins' top 5s.
Top 5. Yeah. Well, okay,
certainty. Certainty.
Well,
you need a sense of worth.
And value. Abraham Maslow was this old psychology figurehead, and he's got this pyramid, and it's like the hierarchy of needs. So you've got the really basic one, which is kind of food and shelter, and then it kind of moves up through those stages, going from.
Would be up the top.
It's Miley's really another word for self-actualization, which is the tip. You know, it's like Nirvana.
Yeah, absolutely. But not as good as Miley.
Miley covering Nirvana is, yeah, I mean, that is Nirvana in the truest sense. Okay, so Rowan, I don't want to turn the tables because I know that it's your show and you're the interviewer, but there's things I want to know about you.
Right,
so
that's fine.
Right now I'm in your place and I'm looking at a wall.
Yes.
I mean, it's a shrine. Let's be real. It's absolutely a shrine. And this is of the one and only Miley Cyrus.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, Rowan, the more I look at this wall, the more things I see that I didn't see before, and it just gets more and more hilarious.
It was originally for a Miley mentory. I did a Miley Cyrus documentary.
Oh, yes.
But I immersed myself in what was a character for over 2 years.
Yeah. It's so fascinating because I can only imagine that at first it started kind of as a joke.
Well, it was a joke, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But and knowing you now, Rowan, and seeing like your involvement on social media with Miley and even the way that, you know, we've talked about Miley lately.
Yep.
Like, you legitimately like her.
Yeah, I do, absolutely.
She's kind of been integrated into your sense of identity.
Yes, I can switch it off.
But can you?
Good question.
Yes.
It's a great question. Can I?
Can you? Is the love too deep now?
With my comedy and my characterisation, I've always tried to work from the outside in. Mm-hmm. So I found costuming helps. So when I was doing a Boy Scout, I did a character called Spam. When I'd put on the Boy Scout outfit, I'd become that character. And it's also like that with the Miley. When I got the yellow glasses, I put the yellow sunglasses on and with Miley's own.
Does it now happen though without the trigger? You're still able to find that love in your heart for Miley? Or do you still need to kind of absorb yourself into a zone?
I guess sometimes I can switch it on and not even be aware of it.
Yeah.
But when you actually ask legitimate questions or key questions about Miley Cyrus, you can see the passion in me, can't you?
I can absolutely see the passion in you.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason I was thinking about this, because the other day, I mean, it's like we scripted this chat because this is just going to dovetail so perfectly. Right. You know how you remember things from like your past life, really, from something a decade or two ago, and you're just like, oh my god, I totally forgot about that. So I used to work on Christian radio because that was the world I was in, and so you hear a lot of songs come through, and there was one song, this hook kind of like came into my head, and I'm like, oh my god, what was that song? And I knew it was a Christian song, and so I searched it, and it's a band, I swear to God, if you can insert some audio in later in a post-production, oh my god, it'd be the best thing. Yeah. It's a band called True Vibe, and they were Christianity's answer to kind of the Backstreet Boys or a boy band going on. And I found this track and it filled me with such that feeling of like cringy, oh my god, I remember this is the worst but it's actually the best. All of those things, it felt like a parody, and you go on this album, every song has a key change and a fade out, and it's just so hilarious.
Yes.
And so I listened to it and it just gave me so much joy, and so I left it. I woke up the next morning and I'm like, I need to hear it again. And so I hit play, and legitimately, like, I started dancing, and I started just like getting right into it, thinking this is the worst. But then I've been listening to it all week. I was on the bus this morning, still listening to it, and I'm like, wow. I wonder if this is like the gateway to you and Miley, in the sense that you listen to something and it's funny because it's ironic that you're listening to it. Yeah. It's somewhat out of place or whatever, but you fall into this thing where you're like, I don't know what I hate and what I love anymore.
But where did that sense of joy come from? What do you think?
For me, with True Vibe?
Yeah, where do you think that joy came from?
It's a whole lot of nostalgia, I think, for that for me. But also, you almost feel like you're on a deeper level with this. Like, I'm not liking it like the 16-year-old girls in the year 2000 like True Vibe. Yeah. I'm liking it as a 2018, 30-something-year-old male who's looking back on something. And so it kind of gives you that sense of superiority that you can immerse yourself, but you know that you're not really.
Yeah, you know you're better than this.
You know, but then am I? Because legitimately, I love it.
Well, good on you for being honest.
Oh, thanks, mate. It's really, really important to, be open.
So you're brought up in the church, where your family pastors, is that correct?
Well, yeah, my dad was. Yeah, he was a minister. So we grew up in the manse, which is
Yes,
Christian talk for the house that lives next to a church, or the house that's at least kind of paid for by the church. And so we very much, brought up with that belief system, and in some ways it's great. Like it's been kind of cool to have an upbringing like that, but it's also been so tricky, particularly finding your own way and your own identity as a person that isn't the beliefs that you were brought up in.
Do you kind of still feel like now that this whole world of prayer that must be around you is almost like Big Brother, just sort of interjecting into your own life?
World of prayer. I mean, that's to assume that their prayers are working. I don't really have that belief necessarily, but that's a really interesting
Tell me about that. What was it like? What was it like growing up and being a church and being the face of the church? Like, because you were a front man of the band.
Yeah, wow.
So many young girls would have looked up to you.
Oh, well, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. So, face of the church, I would have never really thought that. But yeah, I did like a little sing, a little bit of a worship lead. I don't know, I think when you're brought up and you're rewarded in an environment where if you do, like, say, worship leading or whatever, you speak or you preach or you even help serve communion, you're kind of rewarded for that behavior. So, yeah, I guess I was just doing what I felt would secure me more human connection, human approval, human love, which is what a lot of communities are built on, I guess.
A lot of people are saying now that we're the most connected we've ever been, but we're also the most isolated and lonely. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of truth. You see a lot of people that are stepping away from a lot of that as well, and with a moment in a lot of ways now where we're realizing, like, particularly after like the Trump election, and people are realizing, oh man, there's so much kind of polarization in my feed, and I'm deleting people that don't agree with me, and people are kind of getting a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of what the internet and particularly social media has been doing. So a lot of people are stepping away and realizing that community and connection is really the most important thing in life, full stop. That's why we're here, to form meaningful relationships, and sometimes some of these new approaches, they're good in theory. I don't know if they necessarily work to bring closer relationships.
I do say that, but there's the other side of it is having no friends means you don't have other people's bullshit to deal with.
That's, to me, it's true to a sense. Oh man, I love being alone. There's nothing like that.
Yeah. It's the thing that most people are afraid of. I think.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. What is the most thing that you are afraid of?
I think for me, it's actually being trapped. And sometimes that comes in the form of commitment. I've been avoiding trying to get a house for so long because it means I have to be, like, I have to call a place home. I just love traveling, I love roaming and being free and not being tied to something.
So you've stepped away from the church? You're not involved in the church?
I haven't been for a really long time, no.
No?
Yeah.
Do you still believe, do you have a faith, or do you believe in God?
I would have said for the longest time that I was atheist.
Yes.
Yeah. But now I know there's no such thing, but I'd probably say I'm a spiritual atheist. And yeah, I had to do a lot of reprogramming, even not to get triggered at a word like God. Because God has never been a wonderful word for me. It's someone that's should be feared, that is watching over you, but that loves you, but that will send you to hell if the love is not, given in the way that he.
Do you think that's damaged a lot of people?
Yeah, heaps of people. But what if we were to be able to reframe the word God and use and this has really helped me, to use like a substitute. I mean, Christians, Catholics, people would argue that God is love. It's something that we've heard.
Yes.
But what about if we literally used, instead of the word God, we thought of the word love? If someone says to you, God says you shouldn't do that, and we took that as love says you shouldn't do that, would say, well, actually, why you say that's a good one too. Miley, God, same thing. But I just think that God has so much less scare power when we can just insert the word love in there, because love, we kind of deep inside we know what that means, to us at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think using a substitute word for God has helped me. Other words like life is a really good word to substitute for God, in the sense that when someone says, I'm in touch with God, I'm like, yeah, bullshit. When someone says I'm in touch with life, like what I need for life and what is bringing me to life, I'm like, okay, I can buy into that now. And so sometimes just by kind of reframing it, I guess I believe in a sense of, you know, greatness, of awe and wonder, and that's for me what God is.
So you've come from one world and you've become the person that you are today.
Yeah.
Was there at any point where there was like an identity switch? Was there a part where you were battling two personalities and one defeated the other? Like, how did you arrive to the point that you are now?
Yeah, right. You ask great questions, Ron.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Man, you are one badass attitude consultant.
Well, that's what I do, mate. It's my fucking job.
Was that just my way of skirting the question? Just paying a compliment.
Yeah.
No, it is a really good question, because I almost did live a dual life in a sense, because I'm gay, and growing up in the church, you're not allowed to be gay, and so as a survival technique, really, I wasn't allowed to come out, and so you end up living, I guess, in two different personalities, and in that sense, I guess you could say that one won out over the other, like authenticity won out over fear and pretending. So it's true in that way. But then I also think that along the way of like deconstructing your faith, I think I've gone through so many different personalities, I guess, where sometimes you overshoot, like, I'm an atheist, I even talk about God, it makes me so angry. And then you go the other way by kind of having that nostalgia, cranking true vibe. Yeah. I mean, and so you go through different iterations, but, you know, and who knows, I might, you know.
I'm thinking the world needs a parody of True Vibe, and I think that's where it's...
Oh my God, if I could play a part, if they released True Vibe, the movie, and I could play the role of one of those people in that band, oh my God, that made me so happy. You know what, though? I looked online, there's not even a music video of True Vibe. I don't think they were very big. So I'm not sure they're going to get their own movie.
That's even better.
Now, Warren, you had a bit of a faith at one point too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And would you say that still exists in some form?
I think it does to an extent, yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. In what way do you think, like say in the last year, has your faith given you a bit of hope?
For me, hope came in changing the narrative. Like when I'm waking up in a hospital bed and I can't feel my legs and I'm paralysed from the waist down, I didn't know where I got that sense of power, but it was the fact that this isn't the end for me. It's hard to pinpoint it. So I guess I don't have an answer for that. It's still a journey for me.
Yeah. It's a pretty good answer.
Yeah, so I guess the simple answer is I don't know. Maybe Miley Cyrus is spiritual.
Maybe. Dude, I think everything is. And so Miley, of course, is spiritual.
Well, Miley's love.
Exactly. Yeah. And if she brings you a sense of happiness, even if it's humor, like it is spiritual in that sense. It's a beautiful thing. And man, I just really love what you said. I mean, to sum it all up, to say I don't know. Yeah. There's so much I love about that, because when I was growing up in faith, doubt was pretty, like, it wasn't a really good thing to have. If you're going through a period of doubt, you'd pray to God, please help me with my doubt. I'm struggling with my doubt. When people ask you questions, or if you're asking someone in leadership a question, they have to have an answer. And if they don't have an answer, their answer is, well, only God knows. We're not meant to know, but it's still an answer. But to be able to have people say to you, I don't know, and be okay with that, you don't get that a lot from faith. Right. And so there's something beautiful to sum up your faith as I don't know. That leaves the world open of wonder and magnificence and curiosity and exploration to say, I don't know. I just love that.
Because I never had a church that I called a home. Like, I was what was referred to as a church hopper, and I was criticised for that. But the whole time that I was going to these services, I just felt like I was completely on the outside. Yeah. I just never experienced that love and joy that they had. All I was getting was fucking pain and depression and feeling like I didn't belong. But maybe that's my own fault.
No, I don't think so.
But you know, I was looking up at people like you going, oh, you're in the cool group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not proud of that, I guess, looking back. This is probably a formal apology to you right now if I was in a place where knowing that you maybe were struggling with something, but it was too difficult because I couldn't rationalize it with my worldview. I can understand that could have been the case back then, you know? It's a lot easier to engage in conversation that makes you feel better about the narrow mindset that you have, because when someone says, I'm either struggling with something, or I don't fit in here, or I'm depressed, or whatever, it's really hard to reconcile with the narrow worldview. So, yeah, man, I think for you to say that you don't fit in or you struggle with something, for me, that's the most admirable thing anyone can do. To be honest with how we feel about something, and to call bullshit on stuff that doesn't feel right, that doesn't sound right, that doesn't resonate with us. I think it's really important.
How do you call bullshit?
It's not very easy to do in the church. I think sometimes with good friends, you can kind of call bullshit on something and it can turn into a joke and there's not a lot of threat.
Or you can just bitch about people behind their back, which is what most people do.
It's very popular to do that. It's such a buzzword, authenticity and honesty, but it's such a great thing to have if it's handled in a sense of love.
Yeah.
I heard this quote a couple of years ago and it just changed so many things for me. And this guy, this author, it's a book called The Road Less Traveled. Great book. Right. Highly recommend it. And it's an oldie now, but it's a bit of a staple in self-help. But the author, Scott M. Peck, he defines love, and I'm going to bastardize this and paraphrase it, but it's pretty much like, he says, love is extending yourself for the benefit of your spiritual journey or someone else's spiritual journey. It's like going out of your way to actually give people a chance to grow in their spiritual journey. And for me, that's huge, because sometimes when you're in a situation with, say your mum wants you to do something, you don't want to do it, but it's just how things have always been, and so you go ahead with it. The author would argue that that's not love, because she's not growing in her sense of like bettering herself, and you're not growing because you're not finding the ability to do what it is or be who you are that you need to be. And so arguably none of you are growing in that moment, so therefore love is not really taking place. But by you saying, look, Mum, I really don't feel comfortable with that, and I love you, but that's not something I'm able to do. By doing that, you're actually showing love, and you're giving each other the space to grow. And so to that point,
is that what they call
it? I guess it is. I guess it is in that sense. Yeah, you're giving people a chance to be better people. And so bitching about someone behind their back feels good sometimes, but you're not growing and they're not growing because they're not knowing what's wrong, and you're not giving yourself the chance to stand up for who you are and grow up there.
I really need to hear that. So it's almost encouraging me to continue to be a cunt. I really feel that.
Well, there you go. I mean, that could be one definition. But I think if it's done with, I don't know whether you can... Compassion is what it's all about. Yeah. Because if we're just calling shit out because we're jaded, I think, and just not really caring about the other person and their growth, then yeah, by all means, like, mouth off and whatever. But I think we're really trying to care about people, I think honesty done with love is pretty special.
Yeah, I guess it almost comes back to biting your lip and knowing when you need to say something.
Yeah, it's a tough one though, eh?
It's hard.
Wish I knew that one.
Oh, no.
I seem to be good at doing the very opposite one that I'm meant to be doing in the moment.
Yeah. So it all comes down to love, Nathan.
Well, you know what? Sometimes we're on the biggest cliches because they're kind of true.
Yeah.
But I mean, what is love though?
What's love?
Baby, don't hurt me. That's the thing. It's such a weird. I mean, the word means nothing really now. Yeah. That's why when you said just before, like, compassion, I was like, yes, because it's kind of another word for love, or an aspect of love, but we don't hear it as much. And so when someone says it, it holds a little bit more power, a little bit more meaning.
It's a type of love, isn't it? It's a kind of almost an empathy love.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and empathy's another great word. Yeah. I mean,
plenty more buzzwords with that.
I like all these words. They're all really good. Well, I like them because they're less used, and it points a little closer to what it is that we, the
so
good
is that
shit.
The problem we just need a fucking thesaurus?
Pretty much. You got it. End of story.
Can we make a pop song? Can we?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to lift a bit of joy into this podcast.
Yeah, okay, cool. Because we did get very deep for a very long time.
I've got tears coming down my face. And I'm wearing my glasses here because the average consultant doesn't show these fucking tears.
I've been a big fan of psychology these last several years, and I'm just finishing off my honours here at the moment. That's why I'm a little bit sleep deprived. Yeah, the more I dive into that whole idea of perception and cognition, like, again, just looking at your shrine of Miley Cyrus, I mean, what a beautiful woman and she's just got a lot of life and joy. And if you can reconnect with your innate life and innate joy, how is she not God in that moment?
That's right.
How is she not God? How is Miley not God?
Good question.
Miley is God. Can you call this podcast episode Miley is God?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Miley is God with Nathan Leigh Jones. Do you know, I heard about there was a band once upon a time and they got a lot of flack from Christian world, but they were a pub band and they played around pubs.
Yeah.
And every one of their songs was about David.
Right.
And people loved it. They thought it was so funny because there was this band, all they did was sing about David, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then every now and then someone would sit down and say, so who is this David? And they're like, oh, that's just another word for Jesus, but we just can't say that. We just can't say Jesus in pubs. And people are just like, oh, wow, that's huge. And it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the gospel of Miley.
Yeah, the gospel of Miley Cyrus.
Yeah. Dude, do you still have your Share Jesus t-shirt from our mission in the year 2000?
Unfortunately, the print faded off it, but it was one of my favourite t-shirts.
It was a great t-shirt.
Beautiful, wasn't it?
Because it was a logo. It said Share Jesus. The logo was literally a smiley face. How apt that the smile faded over time. Wow.
Yeah, just as the world started to fist me in the arsehole.
Man, that t-shirt, it had emotional regulation technology. It sensed the current political climate and adjusted its... Wiped that smile right off its dial.
Couple of fucking moth rolls.
Right between the two front teeth. Terrible. Amazing. Rowan, what else you got for me?
Let's talk a bit more about Centrelink the musical.
It was good, and I remember at the time, like, I was just definitely needing, I felt like I needed something creatively that was out of the box.
Yeah.
And since then, it's spawned hits such as, Queue up to cash up,
Queue up to cash up.
the weather is always fine.
Can we use that track?
Have you got one?
Yeah, I've got it. Can we use that track with your audio?
Oh, no,
Your
wait,
vocal
like the demo one.
You've got your vocal demos.
Oh, but hide it at the end of the podcast so most people don't hear it. Now, Rowan, this is really interesting, and this is where kind of, life and, what do they say, art imitating life or vice versa.
Yeah.
So, in the show, we tried to represent, or you and Adam, the writer, tried to represent a wide cross-section of the Australian public.
Yes.
And one of them was someone in a wheelchair. Looking back, I'm not sure how sensitively we handled. I think it was okay. There was that one night, I think it was opening night, when we hadn't quite got the sound cues together properly. And the whole show ended on a... with everyone shrugging and, it was all very comic. Yeah. But when we got up to the big power ballad with the wheelchair, the guy in the wheelchair, Ramp to My Heart, yes. Which was quite moving and emotive in a sense, but it was still one of those, it's funny because it's sad, but it's not, and all that kind of stuff. You can climb your stairs, leave the wheelchair and I at the start, but if you really cared, you would build me a ramp to your heart. I mean, beautiful, beautiful. But when the character in the wheelchair was approaching that song and the guy on audio was meant to hit play, he's like, you don't care, no one cares. It was so bad and everyone was so uncomfortable because it was already a slightly uncomfortable topic, but it was met with
the
one. Yeah, he probably put it in your mind.
You
probably have.
On stage.
Yeah.
If you look around you, I've got my little setup here.
Yeah.
We can even get it started right now. We've got the Attitude Consultant cassette tapes.
Oh!
So
okay.
Let's start this off.
Yeah.
So here we are. I'm doing it all manually. So
yeah.
Old school, high speed dubbing. That one's been done. Look at this. These are ready to go. They're ready for labels on it, mate.
So good. Mate, you have a production line.
I've got a production line here. What have we got? Side A.
Oh!
So switch it over.
This is great.
Yeah, here we go. So doing that, you pause it for a bit. You're going to love this, mate. You're going to love this.
Oh.
So this is my first 90 minutes of the podcast. Now available exclusively.
I'm intrigued. I feel like I want to listen. How do people get a hold of this cassette? We need to make this into a promo.
Interesting question. I reckon I'll set up an online card.
What's silly not to?
$10.
Yep, amazing, but postage and handling probably applies.
Oh,
You need to say that because that might be $10 in itself.
Yeah.
Okay, this is really good. So if you were listening to what we're talking about seeing value in art, I was actually intrigued by that. I wanted to keep listening, but I realised that we're recording.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think buy a cassette. Why wouldn't you buy a cassette?
Why don't you buy a cassette?
I'll buy a cassette.
I do open mic gigs.
Yeah.
And I don't get paid for them, but I reckon my last open mic gig I made $40 just off cassette tape.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Mate, amazing.
Give me underneath that Dick's, there's a little Dick statue there, underneath that.
Oh,
If you can have a look
oh
at
my.
that. Yeah, if you could just lift those books for me there, mate.
Yeah, cool.
It's got this great book, it's a pink book. You're going to fucking love it. It's really hard to come by. That's the one.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is what it's all about.
Who's Norm Barber?
Norm Barber wrote a book, How to Have a Successful Nervous Breakdown in Adelaide.
Oh my word.
This was first printed in 1988. There's only a few copies. I managed to get a hold of this little bad boy.
Okay, so
But it says, this book is dedicated to all of the ascending humans who are called nutcases. And it starts off with a quote that says, evil comes from the top, not the bottom. They're the victims at the bottom. That's
wow.
David Brock Schmidt.
I've got this book now. Okay, so I mean, because I don't know whether this is a joke or not, and this is what I love about it right now.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it looks very serious. It's one of those.
It is a very serious book.
Yeah.
I think it's quite honourable.
On the back it says, this is the real guide to psychiatry in Adelaide.
Yeah, this is a guy that actually was experiencing broken systems that just totally fucked him.
Yeah.
But he's just going, you know what, I'm just going to record this journey.
Wow. This is huge, mate. Look at the last sentence on the blurb. It says, this guide is written from psychiatric patients' experiences and has not been altered by medical types or bureaucrats. Fascinating, because I find with this whole psychology journey that I've had with the degree, I do struggle sometimes with the DSM. Are you familiar with the DSM-5? It's like the Diagnostic Standards Manual. It's like pretty much the way of categorizing what illness someone has. And so if you're on the spectrum of this or that or on this axis or whatever. And it's necessary, obviously, because we need to classify people. We can kind of get them the right help and care, but it just, there's so much to it where this whole idea of assigning people labels and telling them what they are and throwing them in whatever basket, it just, something about it that's tricky.
People like Norm just falling through the cracks of the system.
Totally. So have a book with someone writing about it where they're not. Yeah, they're not.
It's totally authentic.
Yeah, there's what authenticity looks like. Not through the lens of somebody, talking about their predictive behavioural patterns, but just actually hearing the person.
And some really funny stories. I don't lend that out to anyone. Quite a few people have asked to borrow it, but I know that I'm never going to see it back.
Yeah, man. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that is a little bit of a theme that's come through with our chat today, that whole idea of like, life is messy by its very nature. We can go two ways. We can put a big Insta filter on it and pretend everything's okay. Or we can be a little braver and take the tricky away, and that's honesty. It's opening up, even if it's not what people necessarily want to hear. It's funny because you see people that sell us things. When we see a McDonald's burger on an ad, we see the pampered, meticulously designed burger. Yeah. But yeah, it's just so funny. Brands are now trying to get on that whole behind-the-scenes thing, and some are doing it, okay, but it's hard to be real because most brands fail at it completely. Like, that was just pretending to be behind the scenes, but what are you really about? Yeah, I think we're craving that authenticity.
What if we could just project both streams? Actually show the front of house, show the on the stage part, and then show inside the green room as well, all the shit. I had this idea, this is going back 10 or so years ago, but for play school. Yeah. I wanted to call it Inside the Green Room, but I'd just have all of the toys like Jemima and Big Ted and all that, just inside the green room, just chain smoking and doing lines of cocaine and shit.
It's like, that's something I think like ABC iView would kind of pick up. They own the rights to those guys.
They've tried to do it with the Muppets. I don't know
they have. Yeah, people didn't love that because they're like, you're ruining it. But look, I think adult play school sounds great. Yeah. You know what they call him, Big Ted. According to Jemima. It's horrible. How dare we? What would Benita say?
I mean, Gen X and Gen Ys would love that shit.
Yeah.
But the problem is the brand is still existing.
It's still
at the moment.
existing. That's
Kids
always
will
the
watch
problem.
it.
Yeah.
Because kids watch everything nowadays. There's no filter.
Mm.
It's just all out there now.
It's all out there. Did you see that movie? It came out the last couple of years, Sausage Party?
I did.
Yeah.
I did see it.
It's quite funny, hey?
Yeah, I loved it.
I just wonder, though, how many parents have let their kids watch that movie.
Kids
Because
will watch that.
they'll just see that it's animated and you just assume it's an animated movie. It's just a hot dog.
Like kind of like Alpha Pops, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. The youths.
Actually, Miley got a lot of criticism for that when she brought out the Bangers tour.
Bangers.
Because that was 2014, but there was a lot of 12-year-olds and 11-year-old kids thinking it was Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
And then she's going over there fingering herself on stage.
That's so Miley.
It's so Miley, but she got a lot of criticism for that.
Yeah. And it's a tricky one because she's older than those fans. Well, she was older than those fans at the time. So she's going through a point of wanting to express herself.
Yeah.
But when you're going through the Disney machine,
Yeah.
you've got that, you're almost trapped in that way of being who it is that younger children need you to be. And no one should have to be a role model at 16 years of age.
Well, she was in her 20s.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, fuck off.
Exactly. There's time for it, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one, but then you also understand that, kids, they've seen her as something else that could be shocking for.
So do you think her new wholesome Miley is her way of redeeming herself?
I've never met Miley. I don't know, but just from watching her, she seems like a legitimately joyful woman who knows that she's in quite a privileged position.
Yeah.
And I think her going back to her roots is really her honouring a lot of her upbringing. She knows she wouldn't be where she is without her dad, really, and her Aunt Dolly, and the support network she's had, which is very much immersed in those Nashville roots. And I think her latest music is her way of showing gratitude and honouring that in a lot of ways. It's quite lovely.
I mean, you've been in a position where you've earned quite a,
What are you saying, Ron? What are you saying?
I would say you've been well off financially.
Okay.
Can I put that point?
Yeah,
Is that okay to say
sure.
that?
Yeah. Well, I sold my voice to a couple of TV networks. Yeah.
Where am I going with
No,
this question?
I love it. I love this question. You're not someone that gets awkward about many things, and so it was just quite fascinating to see you awkward about.
I'm actually awkward to talk. It's like one of the things you don't talk about in the job interview. You don't mention
Don't
money.
talk about the money.
Yeah.
Unless it's Miley play money that you can shoot outside of a gun.
Look, can I borrow $5? Is what I'm trying to get at. Just so I can buy myself a fucking burger. Just $5, mate. You're well off. Thanks, bro. I come up with this great idea of I want to do this track. It's like, it's a great night. It's a great night for recording a podcast.
Well, why wouldn't you create that track? Sounds incredible.
Yes, I am the AC, and I listen to a bit of Miley.
Okay, what are you talking about? We should write the song. You've already written the song, clearly.
The song. And I do this attitude rap.
Yep. How does that go?
Oh, mate, I don't know yet. Like I said, I come up with fucking titles.
Yes, and then
I
you've got
don't
to
do
deliver
any
on them.
Substance shit.
Okay.
I just come up with the turd.
Yep.
And I polish up the exterior.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So that's where I need to use your genius fucking keyboard skills. And all that kind of stuff.
For the attitude rap.
For the attitude rap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it sounds good. It's a good title.
Make it really horrible, like a...
Well, it'd be really good maybe if you could maybe have attitude, the word, stand for a different letter. So it's like A, acceptance, T, because that's pretty horrible.
People love that sort of stuff.
They do love it, and it's
look
a
at
mnemonic.
here,
You remember it.
I've got techno. Like I said, I'm bringing techno.
Oh,
and I played techno
great.
music.
Yeah.
And for T is for teamwork.
Oh, beautiful.
And E is for enthusiasm or something.
Yes.
Yeah, and C, compliance. Compliance is I teach the right attitude.
Okay.
And if you don't agree with what I'm saying, that means you've got the wrong attitude. I'm not talking about.
What is the right attitude? The one you ain't got.
That's right. And help, needing to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because things are going shit. You just need to make as much noise as possible. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, as they say. And then it was N for networking.
Wow.
And then O, I can't remember what what O was.
You've actually already done this. You just need to
yeah.
put a beat behind this. That's all you need.
Yeah, it just needs a
You've
beat.
already got the framework. This is good.
What about this? What about this for a beat? This is royalty free.
Okay.
I'll just try bring it up.
Yeah.
Just open up the iTunes.
Ooh. Oh.
What do you reckon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Attitude. Put we talk for attitude?
Yeah. Amazing. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I just love it. You know what this reminds me of?
What?
When you go to the Royal Adelaide show,
Yeah.
or this is what used to happen to me, because I used to go, I guess, in the 90s, in techno era, and they'd have those rides that are going around in circles, like little whizzy cars or whatever. All that stuff, and you just got that person going, I want to see you put your hands up! And every time I hear techno from that era, I just think about the show. Walking through those places and having all that techno music just doof-doofing as the Dagwood Dogs and the...
That's coming up, isn't it, this week? The show.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the show's this week.
Oh, I haven't been to that thing for... No, that's all yours. Trying to give me back that $5. What are you talking about? That was a legitimate transaction.
I feel a bit
No refunds.
I'm saying you've been well off financially.
Yeah, hang on. Where were you going with that question? Should we touch on that?
You haven't been filthy rich, have you?
No, certainly not.
You've got,
Certainly not.
but it hasn't been a problem for you. Whereas I'm at the point now where I don't know when my next fucking dollar's going to come from. I'm going to lose everything.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I'll be honest, man. I'm kind of at that point now, but it's been good. It's been intentional.
Yeah.
Because we're talking earlier on about what success was, and it's a very first world thing to say, like it's doing what you love. I still can't believe that, but which is a luxury. I just think that I was earning, I guess, some money at some point in time, and I wasn't happy. I was deeply miserable, and for me, that's just it's kind of gratifying to have gotten to a point where you just get a taste of that whole thing of like, wow, money doesn't solve your problems. And so for me, it's quite lovely not really having much work at the moment and being a full-time student and all that stuff. I'm just like, wow, I'd so much rather just be doing stuff that brings me to life and not really having much money than just having cash and being just totally miserable. And of course you can be broke and miserable, and you can be rich and ecstatic. Like they're not, they don't cancel each other out. But yeah, I don't know. That's for me, that was a little bit of a gift to be able to earn at some point in my life, and to know that, wow, cool. It's nice to have ticked that off, and to know that like everyone warns you, it doesn't give you happiness.
Yeah. Does it make it easier to live in the moment?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, no,
but
sorry.
You don't know if it's going to last.
So it's easier to live in the moment when you have money?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Not any easier.
Because you just want more.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't think for me personally, it might be different for everyone. For me personally, there's no. Yeah, it might have, maybe stressed me out more, like in some ways.
What, tax?
Yeah.
PTO?
Yeah, maybe. When I was working freelance and I had clients, you don't want to take a holiday because you might lose your work. Yeah, when you have one client, you want to try to leverage that to get another one, and it's almost like, I don't know. It's the game, and you kind of just want to keep, being more comfortable.
What's the rules?
I don't know, I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm kind of banking on the fact that, with study, that leads to something that is a little more rewarding for me, but I don't know. I've had a little bit of a aversion to learning for a really long time, particularly stuff that goes against my natural worldview. This is the Christianity in me coming out. Close your mind to stuff that is threatening or doesn't line up with the way that you should see the world. And so it's been almost like a discipline to have to learn again. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
So you had to change your attitude.
You know what, Rowan? I had to change my attitude, and I just think to myself, if only I had in these years of trying to change my attitude, like some kind of, I don't know, consultant that could really help me reshape that attitude. AttitudeConsultant.com.
I don't know. How do we close this off?
So, I mean, we really have kind of explored a lot, and I really feel sorry for you in the editing with this podcast. I mean, there's a lot to go through.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh, look, I'm working on a few different little things.
Yeah.
But look, if anybody would like to join my mailing list, I do love that because I send out a little email every month. Been very disciplined this year, and it's just a really cool chance to connect with people. And the great thing is about my mailing list is I have this kind of nifty technology that inserts, people's name into the start of the email. But I have some people that don't really know how email software works and they think it's a personal email, and so a lot of people write back to me. But now I encourage it because I love it. I send out this kind of bulk email every month, but everyone just writes back, and I have to set aside sometimes a little day or two just to kind of write back to everyone, and I love it. I love it. So if you were to join that email list, that'd be amazing. You can just head to, I think it's just nlj.co/subscribe, NLJ, which is my name, Nathan Leigh Jones, .co, not .com, because I can't afford that, but .co, and then it's a // and the word subscribe, nlj.co/subscribe, and it would be really cool to keep you in the loop.
I'm all for that.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
You should totally subscribe,
What
Ron.
I'm doing, just
Get on
sharing
it.
your story
Just-
and your journey and your experience.
All you can do, Ron.
Because no one can take that away from you.
They certainly can't. Do you know who can take it away from you?
Who?
You.
That's
and
true.
it's messed up when that happens. When you second guess, you're like, don't know if I can. Don't know if I'm good enough. Don't know if I'm worthy.
Yeah, where does
And you
that come
take it
from?
away from yourself, and
Where
that's,
does that come from, though? Is that an external thing or is that from within?
mate, it's where everything comes from. Absolutely within.
Yeah.
That's where.
There's
It's
so
how we
much
create
noise
our
out there.
universe, mate. It's how we create our world by.
Yeah.
What we internalize and then what we project out. But when we rewrite that narrative, and when we say, for me, it's been really powerful to say, like, rather than who am I to put this content out, I'm not good enough, to say, this is to borrow from a quote by Marianne Williamson, like, who am I not to? Like, do I think I'm so amazing that if someone doesn't like what I have to offer, that my world's going to fall apart or their world's going to fall apart? Like, get off your high horse, contribute, put it out there, get over yourself and release that thing. Like, put it out there.
Oh, what a great attitude to end on. Get over yourself and put it out there.
Oh, mate, 100%.
Yeah, it's about being authentic, but at the same time still wanting people to listen.
Of course. Unless you have the core of it, the substance, the soul.
And people can pick that.
They
can smell bullshit a
can.
mile away.
They can.
If
They
they
can.
know that you're just doing it to try and build an audience, to try and collect likes
Hmm.
or collect followers, they're just like, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Ugh. And if you feel you are someone that is, because I was like that for a while,
Yeah.
that would probably be my major motivation, to get praise and approval, because I didn't really like myself. I needed other people to tell me. And if that is your reason for doing stuff, and you're maybe struggling with what it is you're putting into the world, like, use that as ammunition to figure out what it is that you really need to do. Ask yourself those questions. Why am I really doing this? Why do I want people's approval? What could I have in my life that I could offer that would help me with reframing why it is that I want to do what I want to do? And by asking ourselves those questions, sometimes leads us to the real thing we need to be putting out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Oh yeah. Thanks, man.
No, thank you, mate.
Thanks for having me around.
No, no worries.
Make a good cup of coffee.
Oh. 2 Miley's, 1 cup.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Those 2
man.
Miley's, 1 cup are available as well. Got the Miley merchandise.
Is that right, mate?
Not many people can say that they've got their Christmas tree up all year round. But I do.
with
Miley's at the
with
top
Miley
of the tree.
atop, yeah,
Yeah, Miley's on the top of the tree there.
mate.
Little
She,
emoticons. It's like the man cave. This actually did bring me joy. Like,
amazing.
yeah.
Rowan, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you.
No, thank you, mate.
Good to be here.
Switching off now.
Grocery stores and roller coasters always have a queue. See one at the cinema and see one at the zoo. Join one in the local pub when waiting for a beer. But we could not be happier than lining up right here. 'Cause we queue up to cash up, queue up to cash up. The weather is always fine. Queue up to cash up, queue up to cash up. The sun has come out to shine. This is the center that links us together and melts all our cares away. That's why everything is divine in the Centerlink line. up to cash up, the sun has come out to shine. This is the center that links us together and melts all our cares away. That's why everything is divine in the center link. Queue up to cash up, queue up to cash up. The weather is always fine. The weather's always fine. Queue up to cash up, queue up to cash up. The sun has come out to shine. You know it's shining. This is the center that links us together and melts all our cares away. That's why everything is divine. It's sweet as honey. Everything is divine. Show me the money. Everything is divine in the Centerlink line. In the Centerlink line. In the Centerlink line.
Energy Consultant is produced by Ryan Harry and distributed by the Ozcast Network.